Hello, Black Women Amplified family. What happens when manifesting goes wrong? I have been a manifester for many, many years. A friend of mine taught me how to do vision board years ago, probably almost 30 years ago. And when I started doing it, I did exactly what he told me to do, which was to put pictures on a board and just think about it all the time. And this was long before The Secret. And I did it and it didn't work. So let's talk about it. Why didn't it work and what did I learn? So let's talk about how um, the law of attraction has been a big conversation since the movie The Secret, but it's based off of ancient laws, universal laws that have been around for many, many years. And when he taught it to me, it was just something that I don't know who taught him, but we were sitting on the floor one day in his living room and he was like, let me tell, I was asking him, how does all this stuff happen in your life? And he showed me. He said, I do vision boards. I'm like, what is that? And he sat down and said, I visualize what I want for my life. And I take a glue gun or a glue stick and I glue it to this board. And I put the board where I can see it so I can see it all the time. So I started doing the same thing because I respected him. I was like, well, if it's working for him, it probably will work for me. Well, gosh darn it, didn't. So let me introduce myself. I'm Monica Wisdom. I am the host of the Black Women Amplified podcast and the founder of Black Women Amplified, which is a women's empowerment company. We have an agency as well as an academy, a podcast, a shop, and all the things empowerment. And we also create journals, and you can find the links to them throughout over here on the YouTube. But here's the thing. Let's talk about manifesting. Everybody talks about manifesting. It is like the thing that people talk about. I'm going to manifest it into my life. Well, when I started, I didn't know what manifesting was. I was just putting things on, creating a vision board. And I didn't know the law, the universal law of the universal law of attraction. I didn't know any of that language. So it was really easy for me to just follow what he said. And I didn't know how to work the board, as they say. So I would do it every year. And by the end of the year, everything that I wanted to come true in my life, nothing happened. Like absolutely nothing happened. So I was like, well, it's not working. And he just said, well, you just, maybe the goals are too big, or maybe you have too much on there. So I would adjust it. And the next year, same thing, nothing would happen. So right around that time, I started going to a church in California called Agape. So every time I went to Agape, I had a friend who was also a client, and she moved to LA. And she told me, she said, when you come out here, I want to take you to this church because I was always talking about woo woo stuff. Even back in the day, I've always been that woo woo girl. I've always been a seeker and a learner and all the things. So I went with her, went to California. She picked and she took me to Agape Spiritual Center. And when I walked in, my whole heart just like opened up. It was people from everywhere, all different places, all different belief systems, and I just fell in love with it. Even though I'm a Christian, I think that we can learn from everybody. I would never want to isolate myself from learning and understanding other people's beliefs. And so I went to the church and I became a distant member. Back at there was no live streaming like there is now, and I just wanted to order first the cassettes. That's how long ago it was. I would order the cassettes, and then I would order the CDs, the sermons. They would record them and they would mail them out. So, and then every time I went to, I was at Agape, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing because they didn't have, there was nothing like that. It was just church. It was different types of churches, but it's just church. And then, of course, there were synagogues, but I'm not Jewish. And then there were temples, but I'm not. There were temple mosques, but I'm not Hindu or Vedic or Muslim. So church was my option, and I went through many churches to try and find what I needed. But anyway, when I started going to Agape and talk, I was mesmerized by everything. I was mesmerized by the language, the understanding of there's a lot going on. And a lot of it is biblical, you know, do unto others as you have them do unto you. Ask and you shall receive, seek and ye shall knock, and no, seek and you shall find, and knock and the door shall be open. So a lot of the principles are in the Bible, and I learned that over time. But what I learned was is that it wasn't simply about putting pictures on a board. It wasn't about the me focus for me to be able to focus on what I wanted to manifest, not that the board was going to manifest for me. See how that's different? See how that sounds different? So it was really interesting to learn more about the universal laws. There are many universal laws. There's a lady named, I have her book right here. I'm reading her second book, but her first book, Florence Chauvel Shin, Shine Shin, she wrote a book called The Game of Life. This is Ask and You Shall Receive. But she's one of the people who were at the beginning of the unity movement, the the people of that. And my internet is like really, really slow computer. And I don't know why, because it's on and strong. I'm downloading on my phone, so maybe that's why it's running so slow. But anyway, so it's really interesting because when you start to study manifesting and the universal laws and all the things that go behind it, you really understand that there's a science to it. It's not just I'm going to think about it, it's going to come. It is just that, but there are other factors that have to be in play. Now, one of the factors that I learned that had to be in play was I had to focus on it. So it wasn't just simply I see it and keep it moving. I had to focus on it in a sense of in understanding my thoughts, understanding my beliefs, understanding my mindset about myself. Did I feel like I deserved the things that I wanted? So all of those components came into it. And so what I realized is that I needed to do some internal work. You know, I needed to do some work on my identity, how I felt about myself, my self-worth. Did I really feel like I deserved the things that I said that I wanted? So that was a very powerful realization for me was, do I really deserve the things that I said that I wanted? Hold on, I have to do something with my TikTok. This video is for the 92%. If you're not a part of the 92%, scrolling. But I want to talk about something. So I have a family conversation with my family every Sunday. If you follow TikTok, I'm over there as well. I was trying to edit it, but I don't think it's gonna let me. It's not gonna let me edit. Let's see. Yeah, it's not gonna let me edit. Anyway, so I'm done. But I learned that there are other universal laws. And the other piece is I had to do some self-love work, you know, and we talk about self-love now, but back then it wasn't even a conversation. You didn't know what it was. We weren't even talking about therapy back in the day. I mean, oh my God, who went to therapy? It was not anything that we ever talked about. And it was one of those things that it was like if you went to therapy, there was something wrong with you. Um, Oftentimes therapy is what happened to you, not there's something wrong with you. But back then, it was you just had to figure out for yourself. They just told you to pray. They just told you to go to church, and church was certainly not talking about manifesting and bringing things to fruition. outside of biblical teaching. And so it's really interesting to learn from Agape all of these different spiritual laws, ways of thought, and mindset shifting. And you know what? It really worked because what happened is um, I started having things come to pass. And then shortly after that, The Secret came out. So The Secret went really into depth into the law of attraction. The law of attraction is a universal law that what you put out is what you get back. And so I got deeper into the law of attraction. They were like, just test it and see if it works. So I would do things like they said in the movie, like visualize a parking spot, right? Or visualize a butterfly and see if it came. And it was happening. It was, just these little bitty clues of manifesting work was happening. And so I got really into it. And I'm getting back into it now. I kind of went away from it, but I'm really getting back into it now. But what I have learned over the years is that the idea is about focusing, right? What am I focused on? What do I need to laser focus on so that things in my life can come true? Because we can often get distracted by social media, by about life, by about the news, all the things. We get distracted and it can make us feel some kind of way about ourselves. But if we really focus on the life that we want, the things that we want to come to happen in our life, then the manifesting comes like this, right? And then we can talk about it, and then we can focus, and then we can talk about it, and then we can experience it, and then we focus on it and talk about it. But here's the thing, here's the secret about The Secret is you have to prepare to receive, right? You have to prepare to receive the things that you want in your life. If you don't, I'm trying to make sure I have enough light. If you don't feel like you deserve the things in your life, certain things in your life, you won't get them. Because the thing about manifesting, what you believe is what comes to you. So if you believe that you're not worthy or you're not good enough for it, you get more situations of not feeling worthy or good enough, right? So you might have a fight with your partner, you might have something happen at work that just feeds into that thought process. But when you're focused and manifesting, you know that you have to keep that vibration high. You know that you have to really understand that it is, you have to be laser detailed into it. Not so much that it's consuming, but recognize that this is not what I want to have in my life, right? You have to change the music you listen to, the people that you hang around. Your whole environment is about something different than where you are now. And it needs to kind of match the place you want to go. For instance, you say, I want to be a successful business person, but you're around a bunch of people who are not successful. Not that you can't be around all the people, but you also have to have a three-dimensional understanding of what success looks like to you, right? So we say that, oh, I want this type of person in my life. I date men. So let me say I want a really great guy, but I haven't defined what great is to me. I might think that what somebody else has is great. I might compare my greatness to other people's greatness, but I really have to do a self-discovery journey to understand what is great to me. What is going to make me feel like that this fills my soul. So those are the things that I learned about manifesting and why I got it wrong. Because what I didn't do was define what success was to me, what love looked like for me, what beauty looked like to me, what the things I want in my life look like to me. Because it looks all glamorous on television. You're like, oh, I want that, I want that. But that's somebody else's desire. What is it that I desire? What is it that I want in my life? And so I had to get clear about that. And so for me, it took a self discovery journey. I had to ask myself certain questions. I had to really take a deep dive into understanding, one, why didn't I feel worthy to have these things? So self discovery is like a huge thing for me. Why did I feel like I didn't deserve the things that I saw that I wanted. And then why did I want the things I say that I wanted? Those are the questions I had to ask myself. Was it because I wanted to fit in? Was it because I wanted to belong in a crew of people? And oftentimes I found that that's what it was. So I wasn't being authentic to myself. But here's the thing, I didn't know who myself was, right? So I had to really get an understanding of who I was. That's what self discovery is all about. And the beauty of self discovery is that you get to know you. You get to get clear. And I talk about it all the time. You get to get clear about who you are. You get to get clear about your standards. You get to get clear about your boundaries. You get to get clear about what is your yes and what is your no. And that's all a part of the process. You also get to understand what you need to give, what you need to work on, and what you need to let go of. One of my favorite sayings that I made up myself is that God will always clear your plate before you get new delicious food. So sometimes manifesting, before we get the things that we want, we have to let go of the things that no longer serve us. Stop looking for the apologies. Stop looking for people to qualify what they've done to hurt you. Um, Everybody's not going to take responsibility for everything. Some things you have to let go so that you can open up space for other things to come into your life. So letting go is a big part of the process. Another big part of the process is forgiveness. Forgiveness detaches you from the outcome. If you have an argument with somebody, um, and it was like, we need to have a clear conversation. We need to talk about this. Do you? Like, do you? Or you just need to forgive them and move on because you know they're not going to change. They're going to be the same person. And here's the other thing, that when you're moving into a new realm of your life, those people that don't bring you joy and don't fulfill you, they will just naturally like disappear, and you have to let them. So what I got wrong with manifesting is thinking I could hold on to my grudges, think I could hold on to my pain, think I could hold on to these mythical ideas of what I thought life was. And I had to get very real with myself and let some stuff go. And I had to clear up some stuff, right? I had to get real honest with myself about some things. And I'm not saying this is a search for perfection. It's just understanding that in order to receive, you have to have a clear path for it to happen. Because manifesting is like a cycle. It's like you put out what you want, you project what you want, and what you projecting is what comes back. I had to sit down and look at myself the other day, and I was so focused on all the things I didn't have in my life. And God said, "What about the stuff you do have in your life?" So I looked around my home and I realized that everything that's in my space, I manifested. Everything I manifested. From the artwork on the walls to the couch that I have to all the things. And I was so focused on lack that the continuation of lack continues to happen, right? And so what I had to look at is what is the abundance that's in my life, and focus on not just what I want to happen, but what I already have. The abundance that I already have. I have a wall of masks, African masks. I love wood. And each mask is either a gift from somebody from somewhere around the world, or it's from a place that I visited. I was like, wow, you, and it's something that I wanted years ago. I went to a hotel in Miami one year, 2004, and it was at the Ian Schrager Hotel, and Madonna had designed it. And there was a wall of African masks in front of a couch. And I was mesmerized by that wall. I just stared at it forever. And I sat on the couch and I felt what it felt like. And I said, that's what I want. Um, that's what I want in my place. So I did it. But I didn't want to just go buy a bunch of masks at TJ Maxx or wherever you get masks from. I wanted each mask to have a story. And so now each one of those masks, 20 years later, 30 years later, 25 years later, each mask has a story. And I can say this mask is from Barbados, or this mask is from Ghana, this mask is from wherever. And that's something that I manifested, because in order for that to happen, I had to go to these places. And so that's something that we all have to look at. It's like not focusing on what we don't have, um, meaning that not manifesting out of the space, the mental capacity of lack. You want to manifest out of the mental capacity of abundance. And what does abundance look like for you? What does success look like for you? What does love look like for you? And that is a self discovery journey that you have to have before you plan your goals for the year, before you plan your vision board for the year, before you say, I'm going to manifest this. Really get clear about why. Why is that important to you? And is it something that you actually need to make your life better? So, those are questions you have to ask yourself. One of my master teachers always talks about ask the right questions. And when I started manifesting, I was not asking any questions. And then I was asking all the wrong questions. But I learned how to ask. I got listed on here. I learned how to ask the right questions, that manifested what I wanted. And I can tell you this for sure, to be honest, I have been totally out of whack with it. I have. And it shows up when you're out of alignment with what's your power position, everything else seems array. I woke up one day and I was like, wait a minute, I feel like I'm in the wrong space and time. This is all going wrong. I said, oh, and that's why it's important that you learn and you continue to be a seeker, because you always need tools in your toolkit to fix some things, right? So I said, okay, what's in my toolkit? Because this is all off. Meditation is in my toolkit. Journaling is in my toolkit. Really great books that speak on one subject matter is in my toolkit. So it helps me to focus on the energy of abundance, not the energy of lack. The energy of lack is what's stagnant. It's what holds you back. But when we get into what else is in my toolkit? Prayer is in my toolkit. Watching what I watch on television is in my toolkit. I will switch from watching a lot of TV to reading books. I will cancel some streaming services so that I don't watch like the Housewives and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to see women arguing and mad at each other. I don't want that level of chaos in my life. So I leave it alone. If no judgment to anybody, but it doesn't work for me. I also am not going to watch a lot of woo-woo stuff. I'm a very practical person. So I know that I have to have practical knowledge. So I will watch um, podcasts, right? I will listen to podcasts. So I'm feeding my soul different food because I want my life to look different than what it has been. And I want that for all of you. You have to, when people say, what are you eating? It's not just about the food that you put in your mouth, but it's also the food that you feed your mind. It's the food that you feed your heart. It's the food that you feed your life. It's the food that you feed to the people around you. You get really clear. One thing about this whole last 3.5 months has really made people's intentions clear, and people really have shown us who they are. And it's okay to let people go. It's okay to let situations go. And that's a part of the process. So before you move into the new year and before you go into the next stages of things, just really, really, who's ever in here, put in a comment and say hello. I want to know where you all are from. Make sure that you like and you share this out so that other people can get this information. One thing that I did, I remember I was going through a bad time around 2015, year maybe 10 years ago now. And I was in hustle mode. I was in hustle mode so bad that it ended up in urgent care. And when I ended up in urgent care, I said something had to change. And that was the first time I took myself on a self discovery journey. I had been through retreats and all the different things, but when I'm out of alignment, I think because I have such a big energy, everything goes out of alignment. So here I am in urgent care, and instead of spending a great time in New Orleans and my first time and only time there, I have to spend it in bed healing. And at that time, I knew something had to change. And so I went on a self discovery journey that ended up being really, really, really great. And mind you, this is before we learned about trauma. This is before we learned about transform therapy. I went to a therapist, it did not work. But I knew my teachings from Agape. I knew my toolkit was strong. And what I did was I created a journal for people to go through the processes that I went through. Um, Asking yourself the questions, and it's called Audacious AF. Audacious as beep, because when we dream, we have to dream like we have to be audacious with our dreams. We have to be audacious with how we love. We have to be audacious with how we see the world, and to fight the diminishing that the world has done with us and around us, right? Especially as women of color, especially as Black women, the world looks to put us down. And so to break through all of that, we have to be audacious, but we got to do the work. And that's what happened with me when I didn't. If you're interested in the journal, it's in the link somewhere on this page. Um, I had to be bold with myself. And I had to tell myself, you're going to have to do a little better. You have to do a little better. You had to dream a little bigger, and you have to go for it. Which is why I'm sitting on YouTube now. I'm going for it. This is why I'm on TikTok now, because I'm going for it. Because the thing is that we want these things in our life. We want this lifestyle, but we talk ourselves out of it every single time. We tell ourselves, that's not going to happen. That'll never happen to somebody like me. Why not? Tyler Perry never thought never, when he was sleeping in his car, I don't think he could have imagined the life that he had now. But he knew something great was going to happen. When I think about Prince uh, practicing in his basement, he knew in his heart that he was going to be the biggest artist in the world. Michael Jackson, the same thing. My favorite, Muhammad Ali, walked around everywhere he went and said, I am the greatest. Before it ever happened, he said, I am the greatest. And he became one of the greatest athletes in the entire world. But he spoke it into existence. He spoke it into existence. And that's what manifesting is. So when I talk about that there are layers to the focus, it's not just putting up pictures, it's not just journaling, but you have to speak life over yourself. You have to speak life over your family. You have to speak life over everything, and you have to vocally say it. It's not just one of those prayers in your head. Pray out loud, ask God out loud, speak it out loud, speak over your life, speak, let go out loud. And we always want to be quiet and have some shame around it, but be audacious and planning your dreams for 2025 and beyond, because it's not just about next year, it's about your life. So that's what I learned, what I got it wrong about manifesting. I thought it was just simply putting pictures on a board, and I didn't do the work that it took to receive the things that I wanted in my life. So I invite you to download the Audacious as AF journal and start doing the work on yourself so that when you plan your goals in December or January, whenever you do it, that you are ready. You've asked the important questions to yourself. You have understood why you wanted the things that you want. You've gone through your forgiveness work. You've gone through your letting go work. And you've created a toolkit that keeps yourself accountable to your positive thoughts, to the focus that you have for your success. You've defined what success is for you. You have defined what love looks like for you. You define the future that you want for yourself. And now you get to go for it. Now you get to plan the steps. It's the beauty of the Audacious AF. As at the end, there are spaces for you to set your big, audacious goals. What is the first 30 days going to look like? What is the first 90 days going to look like? You get to plan all that out, and then you get to go for it in the biggest way ever. So I'm going to hop off this computer. I hope that you got something out of this. Please like. If you haven't followed, follow this page. My goal is to come on every night. That's always the goal. But I hope to see you again. I hope that you've learned something, and I hope that you have seen a different perspective of planning out your next year. So have an audacious day. This is Wisdom, and I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to like, share, and come on back. Set your notifications so that you don't miss when I go live. Take care. Bye.